Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Our group will be presenting on the types of fat replacer and the answers for the questions from our groupmate.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning to everyone. My name is Nur Fazil Nazira binti Muhammad Firdausful with the metric number 20110166. So now we will go straight into the definition of fat replacer. So as we have all learned, there are two types of fat replacer. First, fat substitutes and also fat mimetics. Fat substitutes are believed to be the compounds that can physically and also chemically resemble the triacylglycerols, and in theory, they can replace fats and also oils on a one-to-one weight basis. Contradicting to fat substitutes, fat mimetics are either proteins or carbohydrates that have been physically or chemically processed to mimic the functions and also the properties of fats in food systems. So, they are indeed not fats. They are just mimicking what fats have. Fat mimetics do not have all the organoleptic, chemical, physical, and also the functional properties of fats, and they indeed cannot replace the calories from fats on a one-to-one weight basis, like how fat substitutes can.
Next, I will explain to you on classification of fat substitutes and fat mimetics. Lipid-based fat replacer is under fat substitutes that can replace fat on an equal weight basis and are chemically and physiologically similar to triacylglycerides. The examples of lipid-based fat replacers are olestra, caprenine, and salicylate. Fat mimetics can be divided into two categories, which is carbohydrate-based and protein-based. Carbohydrate-based are produced using starchy ingredients including corn, grains, and cereals. The examples of carbohydrate-based are cellulose, xanthan gum, and gum arabic. Number 2 is protein-based that are produced by altering protein using egg whites or milk whey. The examples of protein-based are Simplest 100, and Trailblazer.
So, let's talk about the function of fat mimetic and fat substitute. The first one is fat substitute, which function to mimic the role of one or more fats in foods. As an example, polydextrose is used in bulking and retaining moisture in food such as packaged goods, confection, and frozen desserts. Other than that, modifying the texture, gelling, thickening, and stabilizing the foods is another function of fat substitute, like modified food starch that applied in meats and salad dressing. Next, the main function of fat mimetics is to replicate some functional properties that basic fat provides within food. Furthermore, they are used to reduce the quantities of fat in foods, which help people to lower their fat intake. In addition, fat mimetics are added in food also to impart the sensory qualities of fat and partially replace fat because they actually cannot recreate all functional and sensory attributes of the original fat.
Moving on, let's go through the application of the fat replacers in the food product. In fat mimetic, it is categorized into carbohydrate-based and protein-based. In carbohydrate-based, inulin and maltodextrin are commonly used in the bakery products such as muffin, croissant, and cookies. These carbohydrate-based fat mimetic function in mimicking the function of fat in bakery products such as to lubricate dry ingredients and assisting in maintaining a shortening effect. In protein-based fat replacer, Simplest, gelatin, and casein are used and usually applied in cheese, sausage, and ice cream. This fat replacer function in improving the quality in terms of its structural and sensory properties of the low-fat product. Lastly, fat substitute, which consists of lipid-based fat replacers such as olestra, caprenane, and structured lipids, are applied in potato chips and cracker. They are used in substitutes of 100% of fats and oils in the preparation of savory snacks.
As we all know, fat are well known for their rich functions in food, particularly in terms of mouthfeel and smooth texture. However, due to some concerns, particularly regarding health risk, an alternative to use fat replacer to cut calorie of food while retaining organoleptic and physical property of fat content has been recognized as a good solution. The question is how well this fat replacer imitate the quality of actual fat. So, to find out the solutions, let's hear my explanations. Okay. The primary functions of fat is immersion, which provide a stable state. Similarly, like inulins and extra olive oil, that are fat mimic that extensively utilized in biscuits, that are changing the physical texture and of the product. Their complex molecule bind water to produce a paste that resemble the texture and viscosity of lipid. Another example is gelatin protein base that broadly apply in low-fat mix due to their advantages in improving strains, uniformity, and stability in water connection. Right, the applications of fruits and vegetables as food replacer typically successful due to their very creamy texture when mashed or processed. For example, like green banana was used in pound cake that as it can attribute the dark color, milk taste and grape flavor to the pound cake. And also the sugar reduction can lead to increased luminosity. Fat is typically used in biscuit to lubricate and coat the flour granule to prevent water absorption and the development of starch and gluten in order to achieve a fine crust and soft and tender mouthfeel, thus increase the acceptability of customer. Then we go to the next product, which is such as maltodextrins and polydextrose are currently used in low-fat formulations because they produce minimal effect on the ice cream production, shelf life, and price. They also employed in low-fat ice cream to elevate the texture and sensory fog induced by lowering fat contents.
Now for our question session, we will go through the first question first. So our first question is, are there any synthetic fat replacers? And the answer is actually the fat substitutes. Most of the fat substitutes that we have gone through are actually synthetic. One of the most famous examples of synthetic fat substitutes is the sucrose fatty acid polyester, which is founded by Procter and also Gamble, which they then developed them as Olestra and marketed them as Olean. To create these synthetic fat substitutes, the approaches that have been used are transesterification and also interesterification. Other synthetic fat substitutes that are also under development are carbohydrate and alkyl glycoside fatty acid polyesters and structured lipids. So these two, they resemble the function and also the physical properties of triacylglycerols while contributing from few to no calories at all in our diet.
Question 2. Are fat substitutes always effective at promoting weight loss? The answer that I already summarized is only if the consumer reduces the food's overall calorie content and if the consumers include these meals in a balanced meal plan, will fat substitutes be beneficial. Consumers also shouldn't be misled into thinking that items with reduced fat and calories may be consumed indefinitely. Next, we move on to question number 3.
Next, for the question of what are the common bad effects of fat replacer. So basically, the excessive consumption of foods that contain fat replacer can cause loss of fat-soluble vitamins and can affect our gastrointestinal system too. Here is such an example of Olestra that may cause cramping, bloating, and loose stools as the side effects. And even if fat replacer can help to reduce total fat and calories in foods, they also can affect food's qualities in a bad way in terms of appearance, aroma, taste, and texture of the final products.
To answer this question, I will keep it as brief as possible and provide an example to help you all understand my reasoning. Most of the fat replacer work in a synergetic way and work together to achieve the main purpose of their existence, to retain the properties of fat food while contribute to great sensory properties. For instance, it has been discovered the synergetic interactions between carrageenan and fish gelatin that can govern rheological qualities such as hardness, chewiness, cooking gain, and WHC in mixed stuff at the highest level. Second, soluble dietary fat, substitute, and gelatin are work together to increase the longevity of low-fat product. There, the appropriate amount of gelatin that applied was responsible to the retentions of fat inside the matrix of meat product, while SDF helped to stabilize the emulsions. Aside from that, the emulsion property of fat replacer can stabilize and act as water binder that let improve in meat shelf life and water cannot flow freely, thus lowering microactivity. Fat also contributes to cake, such as lever delivery and shelf life, which is achieved through delayed water absorption by starch granule.
Okay, for the last question, can a fat replacer fully replicate all the sensory and functional properties of fat in a food product? As we all know, fat provides important sensory properties to food products such as color, taste, texture, and odor, which contribute to overall consumer acceptance. However, none of the fat replacers can replicate all the sensory and functional properties of conventional fat. So the solution to this is combination of fat replacers and reduced fat products instead of no fat products. Fat replacers in combination with additional ingredients may provide better fat-like qualities, as the additional ingredients are usually designed to supplement the unwanted effects of individual fat replacers. For instance, the use of polydextrose and guar gum appears to be reasonably effective fat replacer in biscuits, with an increase in preserved taste, flavor, and consumer acceptance. I think that is all from our group. Thank you for your attention.